Welcome back to Truth or Recon. I'm Agent D. Baker, a retired narcotics detective, SWAT team member, and U.S. Navy combat veteran of OEF and OIF. With years of real-world experience in high-stakes environments, I have seen firsthand the dangers that lurk both in our communities and now increasingly online. These conversations can get raw, they can get heavy, and sometimes they may not be suitable for children, so consider this your disclaimer. But if you care about truth, justice, and accountability, then you're in the right. What's up, everybody? Oh, hold on. Let me turn some lights on. Hope everyone's having a good Wednesday night and a good week so far. We have a lot to talk about tonight, as usual, but definitely some interesting stuff tonight. Joyce, Rhonda. Honey. And my team. So we'll start on the Aniah Blanchard trial, or Ibrahim Yazeed trial. And of course, they started the jury deliberations today. Started around 9:30 this morning, and I was there, as was a lot of people. It was a packed courtroom this morning, and a very, obviously, I guess I'd call it a somber, feeling throughout. And the jury came back with two questions. Came back with one right before lunch. And it was just a simple question that they wanted the judge to go back over. And then they had another one later on in the day. Again, pretty much a simple question. And definitely did not reach a verdict today, which I was hoping they would. But that didn't happen, but we will see tomorrow. So that's where we are on that trial. And again, please continue to pray and remember her family that have been dealing with this nightmare for over 6 years now, and have had to sit through over 2 weeks of this trial and listening to all the details of the horrible things that happened to her. Again, it's just been horrible. They are one of the strongest families I've ever seen to go through something like this and still be able to just get up. But they are being very strong, and it's amazing. But they're great people, very good people. But please remember them. What's the question? Let me see. Can I confirm whether or not there was a witness who claimed to have seen him force her into the car? This was reported early. I've heard that there was. But not during this trial. I've not heard that. So if there was that witness, they did not come forward and testify. But I know back when the incident first happened, not long after it, it was being reported that was the case. And so I don't know where it went or what happened to that. But one thing on kind of that same note, I keep seeing tons of people commenting on posts about how Well, they're not going to be able to find him guilty since there was no DNA. I don't understand. When you have clear video of someone being in a vehicle, you don't have to have DNA of them in the vehicle. You don't. Also, people watch too much CSI crime television shows. I'm not talking about the true TV stuff. I'm talking about fiction shows. And a lot of people don't understand how that stuff really works. DNA evidence is used in. Hold on, let me pull this up because I don't want to get the stats wrong here. I don't want to misspeak. It's used in very, very few criminal trials in all. Very, very few. Again, I understand the movies and TV make it look like it's used in every trial. It's extremely rare, especially in homicide cases, trials. All right, let me see. Apologize, but I want to get this right because I want people to fully understand the reality of forensics and specifically DNA evidence. And I'll tell you what doesn't help this stuff is when you have some, I guess you call them influencers, whatever, on TikTok and other social media platforms that pretend they know how real law enforcement works and real investigations work, and they're just spouting off stuff they see in the movies. And we've talked about the one guy, and this is the exact kind of crap that he spews out, and people believe him because he claims he has prior law enforcement experience, and that's all he says about it. Well, I think we have found out he was at some point he was a corrections officer, which I'm not downing corrections officers by any means, but a corrections officer doesn't go out and conduct investigations. But this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. And what is it? Laugh and Grind? Something like that on TikTok. He has around 200,000 followers, and his lives have around 2,000 people in them pretty much every time I turn it on. And he is spewing stuff out that is not true whatsoever. And so, again, it doesn't help this stuff. When we have people like that out pretending like they know things because they saw a movie and a TV show, and they don't know either. Okay, yeah. DNA evidence is used in less than 1% of criminal trials, of criminal cases. Did you hear that? Less than 1% of criminal cases. And usable DNA is only present in 20% of all homicides. and all of those don't go to trial. So again, the amount that actually with DNA brought up in trial is extremely rare. And most importantly, in this case, you don't have to have his DNA in the car to know he was in the car when we have it on clear video. I just don't understand. Well, I mean, I do, and I've went on this rant a couple nights ago, and I don't want to go back through it, but with mainstream media putting that out as a big headline the other day that there's no DNA located, and then in fine print in their post, you can see, oh, but he was caught on video in her car. And then I'm about to get pissed because it pisses me off every time I think about it. And one of these mainstream news stations, the reporter that's been at the trial, that has sit feet from me during this whole thing, and that's the post they made. And then I hear him he was live talking about the trial yesterday or day before. And then I hear him say, well, I can't say this because that would not be ethical of me. I can't give my opinion on the case. That wouldn't be ethical of me. I'm like, you really think you really trying to convince us that you care about and who you work for cares about ethics? No, you care about clicks. And that's all you care about. You don't care about reporting the truth. You care about clicks. What's up, Justin? God. Because that's where all this comes from. And you may say, what's the big deal if people think that? They're not on the jury. Because this girl has a family. And they're going through enough. And when he is found guilty, which I'm very confident is going to happen, then I already know all over social media, once that happens, there's going to be these same people coming out saying, oh, this isn't right because they didn't have his DNA. And do you think her family wants to see that mess? No. Do they deserve to see that? No. So it is a big deal to me. And I'm sure to them. And also keep in mind, the families and anyone involved with the case was put under a gag order by the judge before this trial started. So they're not allowed to speak out about anything right now. That's why you don't see any posts from them about any of this at all, because they're not allowed to. It's not that they don't care. And it's not that it's probably not bothering them too. Now, they haven't told me it's bothering them. I'm not putting words in their mouth. But again, I'm sure it does. Why it isn't televised? It's rare to see a trial in Alabama televised. I don't know why. I think they should be. I think a big part of it is, especially a lot of these smaller counties in Alabama, like Macon County is a very small county. The courthouse is older than anyone on here, probably all of our ages put together, and it has not had any updates probably in 100 years. I'm not really exaggerating either, if you've been there. So they don't even have cameras in there, number one. But I think a lot of these places are still stuck in the 80s, and it's just something that they don't want to mess with. They don't want to allow, whatever the case is. But it's a good question, and it should be. How is it that Squirmy Fisher isn't being charged with anything? He was charged originally. He was charged with kidnapping. But then at some point, as more evidence came out and as they put the case together, they realized that they didn't have enough to charge him, that they didn't have enough to win a case of kidnapping on him. There wasn't enough there. Now, trust me, I understand Squirmy is not a outstanding citizen by any means. But I've also been getting I've gotten some messages and some people commenting on here and stuff, and I'm not faulting them. I'm sure they heard it from somewhere about again, I guess people just sit around and make this stuff up. But I keep hearing from some people that Squirmy and Yazeed have prior cases together and have been involved in other crimes together. That is simply not true. And I have verified that. That is not true. I don't know where y'all are getting this from, but that is not true. Now, again, I would much rather you message me and ask me and me tell you than you just post the stuff that's not true. So I'm not griping about people messaging me and asking me those questions. Please don't misunderstand me. It just frustrates me that whoever is coming up with this stuff. And I got a message last night of someone, and I'm not faulting the person that sent this to me. They were very open about, hey, this was sent to me, and I just want you to see it and get your thoughts on it or whatever. And it was so untrue. Why someone would spread completely horrible, false information about a victim, I will never understand. Never. If that was your daughter, you wouldn't be doing it. There's just some completely ignorant people in this world. Did the jury come back yet? No, they're still in deliberation, so they'll start again in the morning at 9 a.m. My stomach has been in one big knot today. I had to not watch or read anything, but a few people I follow. You should have been there. Because I completely understand that. It's very nerve-wracking. And I've said this numerous times before, but any of my cases when we went to trial, this is the most nerve-wracking part about the entire trial is waiting once it's turned over to the jury. I'm telling you, it'll about drive you insane. And most of those were drug cases. So it's not like if the jury came back with not guilty, it was the end of the world. So I cannot imagine a family sitting through this, waiting during this time. I can't. I'm telling you, it is nerve-wracking, to say the least. What's up, Emily? If you're happy about Afro Man winning this case today, I would love to know your opinion on if somebody was spreading those things nationwide about you, knowing they're completely false. Because honestly, I don't know how he won the case. He was spreading very clearly, talking about a detective and saying he was a PDF. And he wasn't. So, the man shouldn't have done that. He shouldn't have said that stuff. But there's tons of people saying the same stuff about the president right now when there's no evidence of that. Again, if you would show me any evidence of it, I'm not going to be for the president. I'd be completely against him. But there's no evidence. But let me tell you something. This is turning into the new racist. And what I mean by that is people overuse the term racist so much, which makes it so disrespectful to people who actually experience true racism, because true racism does exist and does happen. But when people are calling everybody racist without evidence or because they didn't like one song or whatever the case is, it undermines the victims of true racism. We're getting in the same situation now with PDFs, because people are just throwing that term around about everybody just because they don't like them. And that undermines victims of the true child victims that really have to suffer through those. You should never, ever say publicly whatsoever that someone's a PDF file unless you know that to be true. What part of that, what is hard about that? You should never, ever say someone's racist unless it's actually true. But we don't care these days. We will sit behind a computer and say whatever the hell we want to, because it's not me. So I don't care to say it about somebody. But if the tables were turned, you would care. You just really need to think before you're posting things and commenting on things. But he claimed that the detective was a PDF. And he's not. Literally no evidence of that. Never been accused of it, nothing. That's wrong. So I like Afro Man's music, always have. But he should have had to pay for spreading that false information about this guy. You shouldn't just be able to do that. Yeah, I saw about the second Duggar arrested for PDF charges. That's crazy. PDF is a child predator. We can't say the word because TikTok's as ignorant as most of these people that I'm talking about, and they don't allow you to say that word. They'll kick us off. I apologize. I've already got fired up tonight. Wasn't meaning to. I'm just tired of seeing that PDF word thrown around like it's nothing these days. It's a very, very, very serious accusation. And anyone that publicly claims someone is that when you know it's not true, you really need to step back and think what you're doing. Again, we have major issues with real PDFs in this country. It's rampant. And we have to do something to make that better. We have to get more of these guys off the streets. And when you are throwing that around about someone just because you don't like them, you're part of that problem. I don't know what that has to do with anything I was saying. The comment is there are a lot of PDF that don't have evidence, that don't leave evidence. That doesn't mean it didn't happen. I completely 100% agree with you. But again, if you can just claim somebody as that without any evidence, without anything, then we could just turn around and claim that about you. You can't do that. But I 100% agree with that statement. And there are child predators in every profession known. No profession is immune to it. And we're about to talk about in a minute. We're going to talk about some issues going on in Walker County right now. That's complete evidence of why more victims don't come forward. And I got so fired up, I don't even know where we were in the conversation here. But again, I don't care how much I don't like you. I don't care how much wrong you've done. If I have no evidence of you being a PDF, I'm not going to call you a PDF. And here's the thing. When someone's having to literally make up stuff about somebody, then that means there's nothing real that they can bring up. Does that make sense? Because if there was legitimate real stuff, they would be bringing that stuff up, not having to make up something. So when they have to make up something about somebody, that's all they have. And we need to recognize that more. let me pull this stuff up so we can. I'm going to pull up Secrets True Crime podcast social media profile. And if you're not following her, you're missing out. And she is legit as they come as far as investigative journalist. If she puts out something, it's true. If she don't know it to be true, she doesn't claim it to be true. But she is awesome. She's very good at what she does, and she covers a lot of great, a lot of stories in great detail, and specifically for sure the happenings in Walker County, Alabama. Now, let me shrink this down a little bit so we can see what we need to see better. All right, let's see. So we're going to go to the first part of this. And so we're going to be talking about Walker County, Alabama. And specifically Sheriff Nick Smith of Walker County and the Walker County coroner, Joey Vick. And every day where I think Nick Smith can't be worse, he proves me wrong. And this is definitely one of those examples. I'm just curious what constitutes as evidence, though. I mean, if there's four different victims saying that happened, I feel confident enough to say more than likely they're doing it. If it's less than that, it's just you have to look at it a case by case basis. But mainly what I'm talking about is the ones that no victims have ever spoken out and said that's happened, and people are just calling them PDFs. That's more of what I'm talking about. But you also have to keep in mind, if it's a one person in a he said she said incident, no matter what crime we're talking about, if it's one person and there's literally no other evidence of that, then you can't walk around acting like that's fact. You can't. I understand it may be at times, but you can't say that because again, anybody could make up something about anybody. So there has to be something. There has to be some proof. I mean, if you've never had something made up about you, then I don't know what you're doing right in life, but you're special. I'll tell you that. All right. So Walker County Coroner Joey Vick, and again, we're talking about Walker County, Alabama, is suing the woman who says he SA'd her when she was a child. But she is not the only one he is suing. The complaint, filed March 13th, 2026 in Walker County Circuit Court, also names Ryan Cagle, Terry Hart, the Church of God, and the Church of God Alabama State Executive Offices as defendants. According to the complaint, Vick became aware of misconduct allegations against him in March of 2024. He claims he called a Church of God bishop, said he had already planned to retire, said he did not have the energy to fight the allegations, and surrendered his minister that's a tough word for me tonight, credentials immediately. Now, I'm going to stop for a second. If I'm being accused of that, I'm going to find the energy to fight the allegations. I'll just say that. On April 6, 2025, Ivy Trotter posted publicly on Facebook alleging that Vick had SA'd her on multiple occasions, beginning when she was 14 years old. In the comments on that post and in other social media discussions, additional individuals also made public allegations describing similar conduct. So again, here we have multiple people speaking out saying this, and you also take into account when a grown woman publicly comes out and says these very specific things, you got to look pretty deep into that. Vick claims all of the allegations against him are false and defamatory. In the complaint, he specifically denies Ivy Trotter's allegations and states that he has never SA'd her or any other minor child at any time. He also claims the situation traces back to his relationship with Walker County Sheriff Nick Lee Smith, who attended Vick's church, and to the January 23 death of inmate Tony Mitchell inside the Walker County Jail. Vick claims that scrutiny over whether he would handle Mitchell's death certificate impartially because of his ties to the sheriff set off a chain of events that ultimately led to the allegations against him. That does not make any sense to me. That I don't see how that leads to these allegations from a specific person about specific things against you. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me, honestly. The lawsuit brings 6 counts, including defamation, invasion of privacy, civil conspiracy, and outrage. Vick is seeking compensatory and punitive damages from a jury. In the complaint, he claims the alleged statements harmed his reputation in the eyes of the voters of Walker County, who would be deciding whether to reelect him as coroner. He also claims financial harm, including approximately $120,000 in lost wages. That claim raises questions. The Walker County coroner is an elected position with a publicly set salary of less than $20,000 per year. I thought it was like $10,000 a year is what he's making, but either way, neither is a lot of money, which is always begged me to question why the hell anybody would run for that office. It's strange to me that you run for an office that pays you nothing, but is going to wake you up in the middle of the night numerous nights throughout the year, and you have to go out and look at dead bodies. It's strange to me, honestly. That's my personal opinion on that. I've never understood that. It's weird. So anyway, back to this. So this is not a situation where he lost an election. Hold on. I skipped a thing. So back to the claim. That claim raises questions. The Walker County coroner is an elected position with a publicly set salary of less than $20,000 per year, and Vick did not run for re-election. So this is not a situation where he lost an election, was removed from office, or was voted out by the public. He remains in the position because his current term has not expired, which raises a question. At less than $20,000 a year, how does that translate into $120,000 in lost wages, especially when he did not run for re-election and did not lose the position? The complaint also lists up to 100 fictitious defendants whose identities Vick says he does not yet know, but expects to uncover through discovery. Now, I want you to pay close attention to this sentence, or this paragraph. The complaint also lists up to 100 fictitious defendants whose identities Vick says he does not yet know but expects to uncover through discovery. In plain terms, that means his attorney intends to use the legal discovery process to seek private communications, including direct messages and personal conversations from people he believes were involved in a conspiracy to spread the allegations against him. He is not just suing the people who spoke publicly. The complaint makes it clear he intends to identify others through that process. Again, remember that paragraph because it's going to come back into play here in a minute. It is also worth noting that the allegations referenced in this lawsuit did not begin in 2025. As early as February 9th and 10th of 2024, these concerns were already being discussed publicly on Facebook. By March 7th, 8th, and 21 of 2024, public allegations had already been circulating online. Those dates show the public discussion didn't start in 2025. It had already been discussed publicly for over a year before the post now being targeted in this lawsuit. And that context is important when you look at the type of case that's been filed here. I'm going to skip down. The lawsuit was filed by attorney Tommy Carmichael, who also represents Walker County Sheriff Nick Smith. The sheriff has since made a public statement saying he expects identities behind certain accounts to be revealed through the legal process. While he says these are not his filings, his attorney is representing the plaintiff in this case. And we're going to go to Nick Smith's exact post that he made about this. So this is quoting Nick Smith. It looks like through the legal system and recent filings, the identities behind the fake accounts and those behind them will be revealed over the next few months. I can't wait to find out who X through 100 is. And it really is. He's talking about the unknown identities, and which elected officials is behind the scenes pushing them. These aren't my filings, but I'll definitely be watching since the same pages have treated me the same way. This is a very concerning statement, being that it's coming from a sheriff. A very concerning statement. And as far as these fake accounts, they piss me off too. And by the way, I have 0 fake accounts. None. You can ask my team. I have 0 fake accounts. If I want to say something about somebody, I say it through my page. I don't hide my identity on anything I say. If I wanted to hide my identity, I wouldn't say it. Now, I understand there are some people who need to hide their identity to say stuff because they're legitimately scared, and they should be. So I'm not saying that some of these people shouldn't be doing that. I just wanted to put it out that I don't have any fake accounts. But again, I do understand why some people do, because they have things that they want to say and make public, but they are scared of retaliation. And now we see that is what is most important to a sitting sheriff, is who is behind some fake Facebook accounts that's been saying things about him. And keep in mind, I've not seen anything anybody has said about Sheriff Nick Smith that's not true. I'm not saying there's not something out there, but if it is, I've not seen it. Everything I've ever seen anyone post, whether it be fake accounts or not, is true. So what he is talking about and what pisses him off is just people that speaking the truth about him. He cannot stand that. And this statement is 100% proof that he will retaliate against anyone that speaks out about him. And that should scare the shit out of anyone that's coming from an elected official with the authority of a sheriff. That's a big problem. Let me catch up on some comments on where we are. A little blurry. What do you? Yeah, so does the president, right? I don't know exactly. I don't know what you're saying, what you're talking about. Joyce, I see you talking about true crime too. No, I don't want to say that because I may be. Hold on. Is that's not? And I don't know who's behind that page, but that's not the page that was supporting Emily, the crazy Emily Davis girl, is it? One of those was. It may not have been true crime too. So don't. I'm gonna have to go back and look. But if that is true, then I wouldn't trust anything they say because they don't know what they're talking about. But I'm not saying that's true. Please, again, and I don't know who's behind that page. All right. Yeah. So this is a very concerning statement from him. Because here's the thing. Why do you care so much who is behind a fake page? I damn sure don't care enough about who's behind a fake page to file a lawsuit to find out. It's a fake page. Most people that realize that, and they're not going to believe what they're saying anyway. But that is scary. But my point is, why would you? It's because you want to retaliate against them. That's why. And I don't know what makes him so sure that there are elected officials behind them. Now, I'm not saying there's not. Again, I don't have a clue, but I'm wondering why he is so caught up in that it's elected officials behind them. But here's the most important thing about Nick Smith and him acting like people are out spreading fake things about him. And it's back to my point where I go, you don't have to spread fake things about him. There's plenty of factual, clear as day, horrible stuff about him out there. You don't have to make up anything about him. There's more than enough to hit on him about that we know for 100% fact is true. So again, and he knows that. He is this worried about it because he wants to be able to retaliate. Now, here is where this whole thing is really going to start to piss you off if it hasn't already. Ivy Trotter is a citizen of Walker County. She made a public post alleging that she was SA'd as a child and identified her alleged abuser as an elected official, Walker County Coroner Joey Vick. She was not the only woman to make public allegations on social media. Nick Smith is the sheriff of Walker County. So here's the question. Did the sheriff reach out to her and take a statement when he saw these allegations being put out? Did his office open an investigation? Like they absolutely should have as soon as they saw the allegations? Did anyone even follow up on these allegations? No. That fact in and by itself, you could take everything else Nick Smith is responsible for and done out of the equation. That fact in itself should be enough for anyone that lives in Walker County to say, I don't want this man as my sheriff. Because, as Amber says here, here's the question, and this is the best question ever. And it deserves an answer. Or it deserves a response from the sheriff. Because this is a big freaking problem that they didn't even follow up on these allegations. When I was in investigations, I can't tell you the amount of investigations that we opened just from seeing stuff publicly. Somebody posts something publicly, we're like, we gotta investigate this. That's what you do. You don't have to sit back and wait for a victim when there's a possibility that you have a predator living in your county. You should never stand back and, well, we'll see if the victim actually comes up here and files a report. No. You want to fully investigate that from that time on to make sure that if there's a predator in your county, that you put his ass in prison. That's the way real law enforcement officers think. That is not the way Nick Smith thinks. And that in itself, as I said, is enough to prove he is a horrible, horrible sheriff. Not to mention all the corruptness that we have. Let's move on with what Amber was saying. And beyond Ivy, did the sheriff or his investigators reach out to any of the other women who made similar public allegations? There has been no indication that they did. And trust me, if Amber's posting this, she has dug. It's not like she just asked one person and just went with it and said, yeah, they probably haven't. She has dug, and she knows that they didn't. So no one was contacted in Ivy's case. No investigation was ever opened on the current coroner, elected official of the county. No follow-up on the allegations. Number one, if somebody made an allegation like that about me, I would be calling the police and saying, no, I want you to open an investigation because I want my name cleared. That's exactly what I would be doing. That, or I'd be filing a police report for defamation, because in the state of Alabama, that is a criminal charge. And you can go to jail for it. I've put people in jail for it before. But I wouldn't just sit back and go, I don't have the energy to fight this. But as Amber's point here, complete silence on all of this from the sheriff of Walker County, where all of this allegedly had taken place. He does nothing for it until now. And now he jumps in because he wants to find out who is behind some fake accounts. I really hope everyone understands how crazy this is. And as Amber says, the sheriff does not know whether those allegations are true or false. He wasn't there, and they didn't investigate. Again, I could not imagine any world where if I was a sheriff and I saw these allegations about anyone that lived in my county, that I wouldn't immediately start and open an investigation, a full investigation. It blows my mind. It is also worth noting that Joey Vick was at one point Nick Smith's pastor. And we know what Nick Smith is very famous for, and his minions. They love to hide behind the Bible. You see them all say that. Oh, he goes to church with me, so he's perfect. Because no one that goes to church would ever do this. That's true, right? Well, actually, it's not at all. And I could not have said it better than she said. It suggests the priority is not determining whether a crime occurred. One of the most serious crimes that can occur, in my opinion, if not the most serious crime. That was not Nick Smith's priority at all. It didn't even make it on his list of priorities. But identifying the people speaking out about it, that's top of his list. The sheriff is more concerned with tracking down those he views as political enemies than investigating the most serious crime you could commit. That also just so happened to involve an elected official in his own county. And as she says, but the message people hear is simple. If you speak even privately, you might be next. And when that becomes the message, people will stop speaking. And that's what Nick Smith cares about. This stuff is exactly why when I tell people, if you have information, especially if it's sensitive information, and you are worried about your safety for telling me that information, we're not going to talk about that information on Facebook messages, on TikTok messages. We go to a secure app that I know for a fact the records can't be pulled by any judge, by any warrant at all, because I will not allow anyone that tells me sensitive information to ever be able to be outed. And I'm not testifying against you. I promise you that. But this is a prime example of why I take that stuff so serious. I did that. I did this for a living. I know what records can be subpoenaed and search warrants written on, and they can be brought up. And I know which ones can't. But that's what you have to be careful about, the things that you message people via these social media platforms, because the social media platforms have those messages, and most of them, all they need is a subpoena, which doesn't have to be signed by a judge. It just has to be signed by a prosecutor, for them to send all of your private messages to the police, to the authorities, including Snapchat. As I've said before, you can think all day that once you make that Snapchat, it goes away. No, Snapchat still has it. I've written search warrants on numerous Snapchat accounts, and they send me every Snapchat that person ever sent or received. That's how easy it is to get it. So again, if you live in Walker County, do not let this scare you into not speaking up. If you're scared, message me and we will talk on a secure app that no one will ever be able to get a hold of the conversations. I know I say this a lot, but truly, when I saw this come out this week, I was shocked. And again, I know I should not be because of who we're talking about. But he is constantly one-upping himself, and not in a good way. And I want to, another comment that I see a lot, especially when this stuff comes up, and I want you to understand this, for those of you that don't. I'm sure most everybody on here does, but obviously a lot of people don't, because I see this comment anytime I see these stories going around. If this was true, the victim would have spoken out sooner. Why didn't they speak out sooner? Do you really have to ask yourself that? Because look what happens when they do speak out. It is extremely common, very, very common, for victims of these crimes to not speak out for years, because it takes a lot of courage and a lot of strength for them to finally speak out about it. And sometimes they don't fully understand that or have that strength until they're older. And then they go, you know what? I'm speaking out about this. It happens all the time. So I can't stand to see these comments of people acting like this doesn't happen all the freaking time. Happens all the time. And it's completely understandable. And you also need to understand that it is 100% up to the victim of that crime whether they want to make it public or speak out about it. That is their choice, not yours to try to make for them. So don't you ever judge someone that is a victim of this and they don't want to speak out publicly about it. That's another one of my pet peeves. Oh yeah, Mr. Burns' wife taking up for we're gonna talk about that in a second. And another, while we're on the victims of this stuff, another big problem we have, especially in the South, is, and it is a complete, just made up example. There'll be a 13-year-old tell their mom, tell their dad, and mom say, well, because it was Uncle Jed, we don't want to embarrass the family. So we're not going to tell anybody about this. So that's why the 13-year-old didn't speak out about it until she was 35. Because her own parents didn't care enough about her. And they were more worried about their family's reputation than what was happening to their daughter or son. And for any parents ever done that, there's a special place in hell for you. And you are a worthless freaking parent. Worthless. And that happens so much more often than people realize. Mm. Yeah, and that's possible too. It's a different way, but yeah, I agree, Miranda. Or a kid that is afraid that if their dad finds out, he's going to end up in prison. So they're afraid to say something about it, and I understand that too. And that is a good point. That does happen some too. That's obviously not the parents' fault, and it's not the child's fault because they don't. Again, we don't victim blame. But again, there are reasons. There are many reasons why people wait to speak out and or never speak out about it. And that is some of the examples of why. When you make those stupid comments, you show how ignorant you are. Are you sure you weren't drinking? Yeah, because being drunk is a free pass for somebody to help their way with you. That's another one that, oh my God. That's victim blaming 101. Well, she was wearing a skirt. She was showing cleavage. She was asking for it. If you say that in front of me, it's going to be hard for me not to knock your fucking teeth down your throat. Just to be honest. We're gonna end this live on a funny note, though. By the way, because we've had some really downers lately, and I've got a really funny thing we're going to talk about in a little bit. I need it for my mental health, and half of you probably do too. You've watched some of Chris Hansen on True Blue? Yeah, no, that's one of my favorite new networks. I've been watching that. I don't watch much TV, but when I do, that's what I've been watching. True Blue, if you put promo code YouTube26, you get half off the first month. Oh, awesome. Thank you, Nancy. And on that note, the my episode with Chris Hansen was supposed to come out today, but it hasn't. So, but I know how that goes. Things come up, and so it'll be out soon. But as soon as it comes out, I'll let y'all know. Nobody, regardless of what they wear, is responsible. Absolutely. Wearing a skirt and showing cleavage is not against the law. You can wear what you want. We literally live in a free country for that. So, yeah. Jesus, little blurry. I'm so sorry to hear that. My goodness. Somebody said you shouldn't have been there. You were 14. This is a little off the subject, but that reminded me of a post I saw a few days ago that I commented on, because someone made a post saying that, I don't remember what everything the post said, but in the post it said that in America, in the US, that children are charged with prostitution a lot. And I'm like, no, that's not true. Again, when you see this stuff, research before you post. That was one of the dumbest statements I've seen in a while. I mean, and I said, give me one example. I want a real world example. Send it to me. Send a story where this has happened. And of course, I get the famous, oh, it's happened a lot. Okay, then send me one of them. Just one. And then it never comes. Leanne, message me about that. Yeah, that's not okay at all. I mean, I did some partying when I was 14 and 15 that I definitely shouldn't have. When I was 15, I was drinking Jim Beam. I guess it was the cheapest. I don't know. That's what we drank for whatever reason. Every time we would hang out at this certain place, I never got in trouble, and we didn't leave. I'm not justifying it and saying it's okay because it wasn't, but I mean, we didn't know any better. We were dumb. But we didn't go out and do stupid things. But no, I drank a lot of Jim Beam when I was 14 and 15 years old. Oh, don't bring up Boone's Farm. Oh my goodness, bad experience with that when I was young. I was older. I wasn't 15. I think I was a senior in high school. And me and some buddies went on a little road trip and somehow ended up in a parking lot of a gas station and kept going in there buying more Boone's Farm. And that was the sickest. That night was the sickest I've ever been, probably. Oh my goodness. Oh, it was horrible. I've literally never even, I can't even look at that without, I have PTSD from it now. I don't think Four Loco was around when I was a teenager. I'm old. But anyway, no, I mean the point is, like she's saying, kids are going to do dumb things. We're dumb when we're kids, especially teenagers. We do dumb stuff because we don't know what we don't know, and that's why it's not the teenager's fault. A 14-year-old has zero responsibility if an adult does something bad to them. There is nothing the 14-year-old can do that would justify an adult doing that. Nothing. No matter what they're wearing, no matter what, nothing. It's sick. especially a teenager with little supervision or guidance. Yeah, and see, my problem was I was raised by my grandparents, and so they were older, one, but I never got in trouble. Like I was never from seventh grade on, I never got in trouble in school. I was a good kid. And so my grandparents had no idea that was drinking whiskey on the weekends. Like they had no idea. They never guessed it. Most of my family, even my cousins, didn't know that they thought I didn't drink at all the way through in college. They'd be like, you drank some? Yeah. Like it's just, I guess I hit it well. And I wasn't an alcoholic. Like I wasn't drinking every day or anything. I'm just saying on some weekends. But it was just, I never got in trouble. And so my grandparents would let me go out on the weekends and just, I'd go on Friday nights and say, hey, I'm staying with my friend, so-and-so or whatever. Okay. And I'd come back Sunday. That's why I always say those of you that, my kid would never do that. That's exactly what my grandparents said about me. Now, again, I wasn't doing horrible things or anything, but I was doing things I shouldn't have been at that age. That's for sure. I'm lucky I didn't get in more trouble. Yes, kids lie, and they're pretty good at it. Kids get pretty good at lying. Make sure your kids don't wear the Letterman jacket with their name plastered across the back when they're being young and dumb. Yeah, that makes sense. Yep. Nancy, I don't agree with that. When you say kids have to be taught to lie. My and this is theology, obviously, but kids are not inherently bad. They can definitely be taught bad things, and that makes them bad and things like that. I don't think human nature is them just being horrible by any means. But lying, the reason a kid can do it so well is because their mind is not advanced enough to know how bad it is. And so they can just lie without even thinking about it. Doesn't bother them at all. Versus when they get 20, it's very hard for a 20-year-old, no matter who you are, to tell a lie. And like that's part of the body language stuff. And an 8-year-old, anybody can tell if they're lying because they're not good at lying. A 13-year-old, it can be hard to tell. Now, some, they're just not good at it at all. But some, the intelligent ones, they get pretty good at it by the time they're 13, 14 years old. And they do. They're hard to read. But again, once they get 18, 19, 20, and then on up, the more their brains develop, the more their morals set in, and it's way harder for them to lie, meaning when they are lying, their body's trying to tell them not to, or their brain's trying to tell them not to. And that's where the body language comes in and all that stuff. I agree with that a little blurry. The stricter the parents, the better liar the kid becomes. I agree with that. I completely agree with that. My 2-year-old will my 2-year-old will get in my makeup and tell me she didn't with lipstick on her face. Yeah. No, I think it's more of kids have to be taught right. And if they're not, they have a lot better chance of being wrong, bad, whatever you want to call it. That's why parenting is so important and so hard. I mean, it's hard. It's not easy. Young kids tell you what they've seen the way they think they see it, but adults will try to turn their stories around. Oh, yeah, no. Well, that's the thing. Like, one thing about teaching detection and deception is it's, again, like I was saying, it's very hard for most, unless they're, now, if they're psychotic and there's some other mental conditions that this doesn't apply to, because they don't, because those people don't have they don't have morals. It's very scary. But for everyone else, it's very hard to tell a lie. And you can try this on yourself. This is what I teach. Try it on yourself. Have someone ask you a question and then purposely have someone ask you a yes or no question. A closed-ended question, yes or no. And then you purposely are going to lie. And so if the truth is yes, then you're going to say no and have them ask you that. And you will see how it's not easy, because it's against our human nature to tell a lie like that, because we know better. Again, we have morals as adults. And so, but it's hard. Like it doesn't come out easy. And so, and that's one reason it's so easy to tell with most people from their body language when they're not being honest. Because we don't want to tell a lie. And again, if we're trying to, our brain is telling us, no, don't do that. And so, but anyway, this is what we do. If I ask you, did you steal that car? And let's say you did. Instead of you saying no, because it's very hard for you to say, you're not going to just say no. You're going to say, all right, if I say, did you steal that car? You're going to say, why would I steal a car? I have my own car. Sounds like they answered the question to most people, right? They didn't. So the fact is, they didn't lie. They just didn't answer the question. That's why most cases, it's pretty easy to tell when someone's being deceptive, because they literally won't answer the question. That's how easy it is a lot of times. And it's really easy. So you have to pay attention to the words and the things people are saying if you're trying to detect deception. And again, a lot of people, they're not going to just out lie because it's hard. And our brains is saying, no, don't, no, no, no. And so we don't want to lie. We're just not going to answer the question. And you see that a lot with politicians. A lot. That's why you're sitting there, you're like, they're not answering any questions. It's because they don't want to lie. And they can then honestly say, I didn't lie. Because they didn't. They just didn't answer the question. But that's one easy way. Because most of the time, if I ask someone, did you steal the car? And if they really didn't, they're literally just going to say no. That's it. Because that's an answer to your question. And if they know they didn't, they don't feel the need to back that answer up with any other evidence because they know they didn't. So if you ask someone that and they're not being honest and they do actually lie and they say no, and then they tell a 5-minute story about why they didn't do it or how they couldn't have done it, that's a big indicator as well. Because they feel the need to back that answer up with all this other evidence. When most of the time when the truthful person answers the question, they don't feel the need to back it up because it's no. Now, that's not 100%. You still have to know a baseline on people. But if it's somebody you know well, because some people like to talk. And so some people, no matter what, you're going to get a 5-minute story about it with any answer. So those people, then that's not necessarily, they may not necessarily be lying. But most people, that's a pretty good indicator. But again, you have to know their baseline. That's a very good point, Little Blurry. Kids need to be shown that they can tell the truth and be open without shame or judgment. And that goes back to when I'm talking about how, because a lot of people ask, what can we do to try to protect our kids from stuff happening to them? And that's a big part of it. And that's why one of the most important things I say is teach your child they can be completely open and honest with you no matter what. No matter how bad whatever they did is. They need to know that you're not going to place judgment on them, that you're there to help them. Now, that does not mean there's no consequences to them messing up. That's not what I'm saying. But if your child comes up to you and tells you something something bad that they did, if you start losing your mind and stand up and start screaming and waving your arms or physically whipping them, they're never going to tell you the truth again. They're not. And that's not good, because those are the kids that, if Uncle Jed does something to them, they're not going to tell you. They're going to be too afraid to, because Uncle Jed has taught them, hey, you're in trouble. You would be in trouble for this too. So you don't want to tell. So that's not how you do it. When your child does something wrong and they're honest with you about it, sit down and have a normal, thought out, calm conversation with them. Again, that does not mean there's no consequences. And that's why in today's time, I'm against physically whipping a child. And that's something I would have never thought I'd say. But if they're really young, now if they're 15 and they call mom a bad name, they're going to get an ass beaten from me. So that's not what I'm talking about. But I'm talking about the young kids. Whipping them is not doing anything good. It's just not. And I'm not saying you're abusing them if you do that. I'm not crazy, but I'm just saying that's not doing any good. That's not helping the situation at all. There's way better ways for you to handle that will actually teach them right from wrong. So again, but again, parenting is hard. It's a complicated thing. Anybody ever tells you it's easy, then they're a horrible parent. I mean, just to be honest with you. But yes, no, that's a great point that she brought up, and I'm glad she did. Your kids need to feel very comfortable being completely open with you no matter what. And that goes back to this extortion and stuff that we were talking about a couple of days ago. On your child needs to know that if they did mess up and send a bad picture they shouldn't have, and then someone's trying to extort them for that they can come to you and say, look, I screwed up, but I need help. And mom and dad needs to be able to sit down and go, okay, we'll fix this and we'll get through it. And you will, if you do it, if you go at it like that. But again, if your kid comes to you and says that, and then you lose your mind and you knock a hole in the wall or you beat them, they're going to be extorted next time for sure, because they're not going to tell you. And then that person who is extorting them is going to be able to talk them into doing anything, because they don't want that picture being out, because they don't want mom or dad to hate them or beat the living shit out of them. And again, we talked about how many of those poor children that these evil POSs literally make them harm themselves and or other people. And then there's been quite a few cases now where they've actually made the teenager take their own life. And they make them do it while they're watching them live so they can sit back and laugh at it. Those people are out there. So again, they just need to know they can be open and honest with you and that you will fix their problems. And like I've said, that does not mean there's no consequences. There's always consequences, because that's another very important lesson you have to teach your child. There are always consequences. But you know what? It's okay, because we're not perfect. We're going to screw up. And when we do, we just have to face the consequences. And then once we do, we move on. It's actually pretty simple when you look at it like that. So, yeah, there are consequences, but you fix their problem first and you get through that. And then after you've thought it through, discussed it with their other parent, calm, then you set them down and you explain their consequence and just say, look, this is your consequence. Now, honestly, if my child is in that situation where they made a big mistake and they sent someone a bad picture and then that person's trying to extort them, then I'm going to fix the problem. And there's probably not going to be much consequences to my child because I'm going to be so proud and praise them for coming to me. Even though that's something extremely embarrassing and something that they think you're probably going to hate them over. But again, if you do it right, they know you're not going to hate them. And you fix the problem. And then, because in that situation, that would probably be enough consequence in itself that problem's probably not going to happen again, if that makes sense. But most things, yeah, there's still consequences, but calmly. Yeah, and I've seen a few people talking about what we're talking about a while ago, that I overshare all the details because I'm afraid I won't be believed. And that is, again, that's why you have to have a baseline on somebody, because and I'm not a psychiatrist or a therapist, but that is probably something you need to talk to a therapist about. Because I'm sure that goes back to somebody that is important to you in your life just never believed you or whatever, and so you feel that need. Again, I'm not saying it's the biggest deal in the world. I'm not saying you lost your mind or something, but you know what I'm saying. But yeah, no, and that's what I'm saying. You have to have a baseline on people. What's up, Monica? Oh, we're just glad you're here. You can be late. That's fine. Yeah, I agree with that, Clay. Raise kids with church first and show them real love and watch who they are around. And yeah, that last part is definitely important as well, that a lot of parents, I ain't gonna say a lot, but some parents don't understand. Whoever your child hangs around, their 5 closest friends, that's who your child's going to be. There's no way around that. Your child's 5 closest friends, it's exactly who your child's going to be. So if their 5 closest friends are not someone you want your child to be, then you would need to figure out a way to put a stop to them hanging out with them. There is no way around that. And that goes for adults too. The 5 closest people that you hang around, the 5 people you're closest to in your life, no matter what age you are going to be exactly who you are. That's 100%. That theory has never failed. That's why I tell people, if you want to be successful in business, then you need the closest people to you need to be successful business people. It's pretty simple. If you want to be, whatever the case is, that's the closest people you need to be to. And that's what you will turn into. So whether it's good or bad, you're going to turn into those 5 people that you're closest to. And I don't know why, but that is one thing that is that for some of the adults that I've had these conversations with and leadership conversations with and stuff like that, that's the hardest thing for them to understand. And I don't know why. And I've had them argue till they're red in the face about it. No, I'm helping these people, so I'm helping them. You can help them all you want. That's fine. But you're going to turn into them. If you've never used a drug in your life and your 5 closest friends use drugs, it's just a matter of time. Again, no way around that. If your 5 closest friends go to church every Sunday and are good Christians, you're going to end up being a good Christian and going to church every Sunday. Again, good or bad, that's who you're going to be. So that's why you have to be so careful about the people you choose to be in your life. And that's why you don't need a huge, close circle. You don't need 20 people that you're extremely close to. That's almost impossible anyway, but you don't need that. You need a smaller circle. A circle of 4 or 5 people, sometimes even 3. As far as that, I'm talking about that very close. I'm talking about people. Your best friends are the people that know everything about you, the good and the bad. And if it's something that, because this is the first, when someone's talking to me about their best friend, I say, that's your best friend. Okay. Do they know everything about you, the good and the bad? Well, no, not everything. Then they're not your best friend. They're not. That's the people, and that circle should be very tight and small. Because number one, you don't want tons of people knowing all of your business. But you need people in your life very close to you that know everything. The good and the bad. And I'm not saying that has to be 5 people that know everything. Again, that circle needs to be small. But whether it's 2 people, 3 people, you need some people in your life that know everything. That way, you have someone that will make you have accountability. And we all need that. I don't care how perfect you think you are. If there's not somebody in your life that can hold you accountable, you're flirting with disaster. That's why, I hear people making fun of a coach. Oh, this person needs a coach. And I don't like the term life coach because but you need a coach. You do. Everybody. And if you're out there right now and you don't have a coach, what are you doing? You think you're that perfect of a human that you don't need a coach? Michael Jordan, best basketball player of all time. Kobe Bryant, at least probably, in my opinion, the second best basketball player of all time. Guess what both of them had in common? They had coaches. Right? But they were the best in the world. Why do they need coaches? Because everybody needs a coach. You need a coach. And again, your coach, I'm not saying they have to know every single thing about you, but they need to know a lot about you, the good and the bad. And that way, they can help you. They can help you make very big decisions, because I'm also a firm believer that there's some decisions in life that you should not make by yourself. I don't trust myself enough to make some huge decision by myself. Now, you don't need 5 people. If it's a really, really big decision, you don't need to run that by 5 people. You need to run that through probably one very trusted person. And because if you run it by 5 people, you're just going to end up confused. So again, but you need somebody, you need a coach. Now, some people, that coach is their spouse. Some people, it is their best friend. But a lot of people, I myself, I have a coach that I run things by a lot. And there's no way in hell I would be where I am in life without them. And it's not that I've had the same one for 10 years. I've had different ones. But you need a coach. And yes, that coach needs to be very vetted. Yeah, you don't just pull a stranger off the street and say, hey, will you be my coach? No, you don't do that. Very vetted. Be very careful about who you allow to coach you. What if my coach needs a coach? Then you need a different coach. No. Now, in all seriousness, if it's a good coach, they have a coach too. Because again, I mean, everybody needs one. So yeah, I mean, in all seriousness, no, your coach. If it's if they're a good coach, they have a coach too. I have a coach purse. Does that count? I don't think so. I may have to put some thought into that. No, I'm just kidding. Before someone coaches me, I tried to find out what they're selling me. I mean, I don't think they should be selling you. I don't know what you're talking about exactly. Unless you're talking about these like if you're talking, I think you're probably talking about these internet people that are standing in front of a Lamborghini and this big mansion, or sitting on a private jet and saying, pay me $500 a month, and you know, I'll get you through life, and I'll turn you into me. And yeah, if that's what you're talking about, yeah, that's complete BS. If someone feels the need to be standing in front of a Lamborghini or sitting on a private jet or in front of a big mansion to sell you on them being your coach, that's a big red flag. Yeah, for sure. And I hate to burst your bubble, but 99% of those people don't own any of those things. They rent them for a video. They do make a lot of money because a lot of people fall victim to it, unfortunately. But no, I mean, a good coach, I mean, you're going to have to pay for them. I mean, that is a fact, because they're putting a lot of their time into you, and time is the most valuable thing we have. So yeah, I mean, you're going to have to pay some for them for sure. But again, that's should be completely understandable because they're putting a lot of time into you. But don't pay somebody $1,000 a month and you get to have 2 phone calls a month with them or some bull crap like I've seen. No, that's not what I'm talking about. If you're paying someone $1,000 a month, that needs to be at least a phone call a day if needed, but pretty much daily phone calls, anything like that. Don't overpay. But again, a good coach, it's going to cost some money. Little blurry, you sound just like my wife. That's something she would say. My husband is my coach. He is an angel sent to me straight from heaven. I don't really think she would. No, she wouldn't say it like that. It wouldn't sound that good, that's for sure. I had several coaches growing up, so thankful they were upstanding people and positive people and influences. Definitely held me to a much higher standard and pushed me beyond what I thought was possible. Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I'm saying. It's more important to have that as an adult than a child. I'm not just talking to TikTok, Debbie. That's not fair. I didn't forget about y'all. Um, yeah. So the Alabama student missing in Spain. Yeah, that's horrible. I have not had time to like look at any details or anything. I've been seeing the headlines, and of course, it's a lot of talk around my town because it's where I live. But it's very sad. I hope they end up finding him, and obviously alive. But I will be looking more into that for sure, and have more info Friday night. My husband lies like this too. No. No, that's awesome, little blurry though. Seriously, that's awesome that you have that. That makes me happy. Yeah, Cody, me too. Cody said, "I pray the tomorrow is the end of this disaster with the dude in Macon County." Yeah, I hope so. I really hope so. Yes, I did. I went to court today, Debbie. Unfortunately, I'm not going to get to go the rest of the week. And I hope it's not still going Monday. If it is, I'll probably go Monday. Go back Monday, but I hope it's not, for her family's sake. Again, this is, I can't imagine. Oh, I can't imagine. All right, I want to talk about the funny thing right quick before we go. Like I said, I think we all need it for our mental health. Oh, so this is not what I was talking about, but I want to bring this up very quickly. That I saw in court today, and I'm not going to call anybody out. I don't know who she was anyway, but I saw something that just, Jesus. I saw something that I wouldn't be surprised if I turned on Saturday Night Live and saw it, but seeing it in real life and right in front of me, we have some problems that we need to fix. This is what happened. And I'm not going to exaggerate this story at all because I don't have to. I was in court, and the row directly in front of me, there was a female sitting here, and then a male here, and the male was he was a journalist with one of the news stations. And so if you're with media, we were allowed to take our cell phones in court, and if you want to take a laptop in or whatever, but no one else is allowed to have electronics in there. And so we're all just sitting there, kind of, we're all just quiet, talking, whispers and stuff, because we're just waiting on, the jury's in the back deliberating. And this girl, and I don't know how old she was, but definitely not older than 30, in her 20s somewhere would be my best guess. Maybe mid 20s, maybe even early 20s. But she looks over at this journalist and she said, "How did you get your phone in here?" And he said, "Well, media's, I'm press and we're allowed to bring our phones in." She said, "Oh, I don't know how much longer I can sit here without my phone." And if you think it stops there, y'all listen. And again, I'm not making this up, and I have a witness. She then looked at him as serious as can be. And this was not a joke. And says, "Could I possibly just hold your phone for just a minute or two? I don't want to look on it. I'm not going to look in your phone or nothing. I just want to hold it in my hand for a couple of minutes." And that's how she said it too. And she was literally like shaking a little bit. And he was like, "Okay." And so he handed her his phone, and she sits there and she turns it over where the face of it's down, and she's just holding it in her left hand, and then she puts her right hand over it, and she's just staring up, and she's just holding in her hand, and you could see the relief. And she held it for maybe 2 minutes, and then she handed it back to him, and she said, "Thank you so much." That happened in real life, and it seriously happened. And again, I have a witness that's on here right now that was sitting right beside me and watched it all too. Because one of the people on my team was in court with me today, and we looked at each other, and I said, "Did that really just happen?" I mean, I was in disbelief. It's one of the craziest things I've ever seen. I mean, literally an addiction. And when I tell you, you could literally see the relief. I mean, her whole body relaxed. I mean, she was like, and she got it, and she was just, it was down in her lap, but she was holding it like this, and she was like, and then she handed it back to him, and she was good. I had no idea that it was that bad to some people. I whew. I just, wow. And I'm being dead serious about this. If you are that addicted to your phone, you need help. You need to put your phone away and get away from it for a while. And that is why. And this was a normal looking girl, like completely normal looking. But that is why you need to be very careful with your children. Not only the fact that you should not let the world have access to your child like that. But you don't want your child addicted to a device like that. It was nuts. I will never forget that. Ever. And I'm so glad I had a witness that sat there and saw and heard every bit of it with me. Because, I mean, wow. Anyway, that's not what I want to talk about this right quick because this is. Whew. So, in the state of Alabama, there is a guy running for governor on the Democratic ticket that when I started seeing his stuff, I thought it was satire. Like I thought it was a comedian, legit. Until I found out he has literally qualified as a candidate and will be on the Democratic ticket in the primaries. And he is seriously running for governor in Alabama. Let me get his name. But if you needed some comedic relief, you're about to get it. Jamel Brown. Let me bring Facebook back up here. So, Mr. Jamel Jermaine Brown. First of all, just some of his posts on social media, but it gets way, 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 way better. I'm trying to get to some of his official candidate post here. My goodness, he posted a lot. This is all from today. There's one of my comments. I said, if he wanted to be a legitimate candidate, he wouldn't post the nonsense he posts. He's making a mockery out of the very important part of our democracy. I commend and respect anyone that is willing to put themselves out there to run for governor. And that's a fact. I do. However, some of the things he posts are in no way serious. If you want to be taken seriously, then present yourself as a serious candidate. His response, I don't give a. And he does it. I'll give him that. Where did these posts go? All right, here's one. As governor of Alabama, I will do something that's never been done before in the history of America by a sitting elected official. I will officially recognize that Jesus Christ, our Creator, is identified as black according to the scriptures. For too long, the true history of the real descendants of Israel. I haven't seen this one yet. This is not, I don't have an issue with this, honestly. So that one's, I'll let him go on that one. Oh, hold on. We'll read this post. Today, history has been made in Alabama again. Never in the 117 years of the existence of the governor's mansion has a 35-year-old brown man wearing Jordan 11s. You got to know that shoe size, apparently. Is that a shoe size or is that a style? I don't know. It may not be a size. I don't know. From the west side of Montgomery, stood proud, tall, humble, and bold on these stairs that lead to the private quarters of Alabama governor. With the governor's seal that has the Confederate flag printed on it. This mansion will soon be my home on May 19th, 2026, touring my new home. He's supposed to be a preacher as well, but I question that. Here's one of his big plans. Bring Pornhub back to Alabama. Freedom, choice, and common sense. I don't know what Big Daddy Male is, but I'm Jamel Brown, and I approve this message. So he wants to get Pornhub back. And remember, he's supposed to be a pastor. Oh, and now he shows it. I guess this is what it says if you go to As you may know, your elected officials in Alabama are requiring us to verify your age before. Oh, so you can still see it. You just got to verify your age. I don't have a problem with that. I mean, I don't have a problem with it, not with it being illegal, because that's one thing that I do think is straight from the devil, in all seriousness. Not one good thing has ever come out of that. But anyway. So here we go. Here's the good stuff. On my first day in office as governor of Alabama, I will sign 20 executive orders to put the people of Alabama first. Legalize and tax marijuana for personal use. Hey, I'm all for that, to be honest with you. Pardon nonviolent offenders in state prisons. You can't just pardon that's crazy. Anyway. Now, if I was governor, there probably would be a lot of people I'd pardon for sure, but eliminate state tax on groceries. Hey, that sounds awesome. Legalize and tax the lottery. I don't have an issue with that. $3,000 stimulus checks for those making under $100,000. I guess he thinks this money's just going to fall out of the sky because that's a lot of money. Restore law and order to crime-ridden cities. Hey, I'm all for that. Put parents back in charge of education. All for that. Question number 8. It's number 1. I didn't know it was illegal, but he wants to legalize sex stores. Got to do that again. Does anybody know is that illegal? Because I didn't know it was. talking about addiction. Yeah, Monica, you're very true on the porn thing. Bring prayer back in schools. Hey, I don't have a problem with that. Invest in Alabama businesses. Awesome. Pay raise for state employees. Offer that. Here's one of the best ones. Number 12. Make Montgomery a strip club city. I didn't realize there was a big push for that. Guess I'm out of the loop on that. But make Montgomery a strip club city. So yeah, that's 3-month grace period for utility bills. I did. He doesn't have the authority. Well, he doesn't have the authority on most of this stuff. But that's not gonna. That's impossible. First off, because most of the utilities are private entities, and you anyway. Raise minimum wage to $25 an hour. Yeah, that would work. Yeah. That's what we need. If you understand anything about economics, you understand why that would be horrible. Anyway, it would run over half the businesses out. And that, anyway. Support our veterans. I'm all for that, obviously. Strengthen the child support system. All for that. Clean up DHR. All for that. Expand SNAP benefits for working families. I mean, I'm not saying I'm against that. Depends on where the money would be. Tougher laws against elderly abuse. Absolutely. Expand affordable home ownership. Don't know how the governor would do that, but anyway. But this is my point and what I was trying to say to him. Dude, you could be a legit candidate. I mean, I doubt you win because that's hard, but a lot more people would take you serious and not like be making fun of you. But then you put these some of these absolutely ridiculous things. Number one, that anyone with any sense of how Alabama state government works or any sense of the Alabama's Constitution knows that most of this stuff he would literally have zero power over. The governor of Alabama doesn't have a lot of power. Now, they have a lot of influence, but as far as they don't have a lot of power to like make a bunch of decisions. That's just not how our state constitution is written up. But number 8, number 12, I don't know about those. Again, I didn't know sex stores were illegal, but I'll take his word for it. And there's some more good ones. Let me get to them. Let me just, let me do this. There we go. I've got pictures of all of them, so I'm just going to bring those up instead of spending an hour going through this page here. Here's one of his posts. Attention, Alabama, if you work, listen up. On my first week in office as governor of Alabama, I will use my executive power to eliminate the outdated 40-hour work week and replace it with a 32-hour work week across our state. Yeah, that's very possible. I mean, that's possible. I mean, any governor could just do that. In Alabama, the new standard work week will be Monday through Thursday work days. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, official weekend and overtime days. And let me be clear, your pay will not be reduced. No. Your salary stays the same, even though you're working a lot less hours. Vacation pay stays the same. 401k stays the same. Job benefits the same. Again, and yeah, just saying random stuff, it sounds awesome. Literally impossible and would not be good for the economy in any way whatsoever. But anyway, this plan will help Alabamians live better lives. Rest, energy, time with family, time with friends, time with children, mental health breaks, time to actually enjoy life. In addition, every employer in Alabama will be required to provide 1 hour and 30 minutes of paid break time daily for both full-time and part-time employees. Well, I'd have to fire all my part-time employees. Every employee will also receive mandatory paid leave, including 100 hours of PTO, 100 hours of vacation, 100 hours of sick leave, 100 hours of bereavement leave, 100 hours of mental health leave. All of it fully paid. Because the goal in Alabama is simple. Work smart, not hard. More money in your pockets, less stress on your mind, more time to live your life. Employers who follow this plan will receive major tax breaks. They would have to see a lot more in tax breaks, I promise you that. And support from the state of Alabama. Let's build a better Alabama together. Oh, this one's solid too. As governor of the great state of Alabama, I will sign an executive order to remove mandatory drug testing requirements for employment. You can use all the drugs you want to and work in any job you want to in Alabama. And yet, no, he would have absolutely no say in a private business. But he's trying to live his dream here, apparently. Too many good people are being blocked from jobs over policies that have nothing to do with their ability to work, provide for their families, and contribute to society. Well, look, I don't have an issue with an adult wanting to use the green stuff. I don't have an issue with it at all. But if the people that pay you, where you can pay your bills, say you can't use that or you're not going to work here, then you can use it. It's pretty simple. Anyway, I will also move to abolish the outdated at-will employment law in Alabama. No employer in our state should have the power to fire hardworking people for no reason at all. Yeah, because that happens all the time. Now, yes, some people do get fired for no reason other than the boss didn't like them or whatever. I'm not saying that doesn't happen. But it's not like every person that's fired is the best employee. Most people that are fired, they're fired for a good reason. Now, again, some not, but again, private entity, the government, in my opinion, the government should have absolutely no say in that. But anyway, but he wouldn't have that. That's, again, that would require at least legislative vote, but probably a constitutional amendment. My administration will focus on making it easier for all people to get good jobs in the great state of Alabama. Hardworking Alabamians deserve opportunity, not unnecessary barriers. Always like a good post that starts out like this. This post may not get many likes from some of the younger crowd, but it must be said. As governor of Alabama, I will work to raise. Oh, I lost my spot here. I will work to raise the age of consent for S activity from 16 to 20. So if you're 19, you're an adult living on your own, you won't have a say in who you have those relations with. For too long, our laws have failed to fully protect our children. Now, I agree with that. Children should be able to focus on growing up, becoming financially independent, preparing for adulthood, and building a life of security and stability. I agree with that. I'm not sure what these two things have in common here with what he's promoting, but anyway, technology and modern culture have over-sexualized our children, and predators have taken advantage of that reality. Absolutely true. Across our state, minors have been preyed upon by people in positions of trust, teachers, principals, janitors, club promoters. Throw that one in there, apparently. Club owners, elected officials, and even pastors. I agree with all that. He is not lying there. S trafficking is real. I agree. And it affects underage youth in Alabama. I completely agree. I'm just not sure how just changing this 16 to 20 is going to solve that problem. Maybe I'm not thinking outside the box enough. I don't know. Under my administration, I will push for what I call the Jamel Brown 2020 rule. The 2020 rule: anyone under the age of 20 cannot legally consent to S activity with anyone over the age of 20. So if you're 19, you can't be dating somebody that's 20. And if you're 20, hold on. Anyone under the age of 20 with anyone over the age of 20. Okay, yeah. Yeah, so if you're 20 and you do something with a 19-year-old, you're going to jail. And that's going to fix our problem, apparently, somehow. Again, I'm not sure how, but that's his fix for that. Again, I completely agree. We need to do better, and there's a lot more things that we should be doing, and there's some laws that need to be changed, and enforcement should be different and better. I just don't understand how this simple thing of raising it from 16 to 20 is going to fix or help any of that. But again, maybe I'm not thinking outside the box enough. We're trying to have a. God, some of y'all piss me off, to be honest with you. Because criminals follow the law, that's why it'll work. You're exactly right. I completely agree with you. 16 is too young to handle adulthood. And let's be clear. If you're 20, you can't. In Alabama, anyway, it is illegal for you to have relationship with the 16-year-old. As I agree with that, and as it should be. I agree with all this. Again, I just still don't understand how his 2020 rule is going to fix nor even help that problem, but I don't know. Like it or not, when I become governor of Alabama, will be, I don't think I can say that word on TikTok. So the green will be 100% legal to smoke and sell in our state. The plant was created by God, not humans. No government and no man on earth has the right to stop people from using or benefiting from a plant that God made. Part of this I agree with, but the part of God made it, that doesn't fit. That you can't go off of that, because there's poisonous things God created that if you eat, they're going to kill you. So I've never understood that argument. But anyway, for far too long, people have been fined, jailed, and criminalized over a plant. I agree with that. That will end under my administration as governor. I will legalize it statewide, remove felony classifications. Well, yeah, you're double saying it here. If you legalize it, then there won't be any felony offenses for it. Decriminalize possession and use, pardon and release individuals in state prisons who were sentenced for non-violent offenses, expunge charges from criminal records, establish a regulated cannabis market. If I was his advisor here, I mean, I'd be telling him a lot, but throwing this sentence in anything of your campaign, not a smart thing in Alabama. You don't want to say anything and it include like California. You're going to lose a lot of votes just there. I mean, I'm just being dead serious. Nobody in Alabama wants anything like California has. Actually, I mean, hardly anybody in any other state wants anything like California has. But so that's not smart to say in there. But and this is one of my favorites. Make April 20th, 420, a state paid holiday. It's time to stop criminalizing people over plants and start creating freedom, opportunity, and economic growth for Alabama. And then I like this last line here. Puff, puff, give, MFers. Oh, me. Oh, my goodness. Let me see. I think that's all I had. There's some more. But that may be all I have available right now. Yep. Oh, it's late. Anyway. But look, we got to let me end with this one back up because this is the best one. We got to get behind make Montgomery a strip club city. I mean, that's got to happen. I don't know exactly what a strip club city entails, but sounds good. And then legalize, number 8 there, legalize sex stores. I'm still going to have to check on that. I didn't realize they were illegal if they are. He claims to be a preacher. Again, claims. I agree. He would make a really good comedian. And that's, again, when I saw, this is the one I saw first. And I was like, oh, this is funny. Because it is. And then I started seeing other people post things about him. I was like, hold on. This guy's not serious. No, he is. He's dead serious. He is literally going to be on the ticket. So there will be more come from him that we'll talk about Friday, I'm sure. Get some good comedic relief. I'm going to have to start adding that to my ending note at the end of each one of my lives. Make Montgomery a strip club city. Oh, good times. California is amazing. Is that why they've lost like coming up on almost a half of their population in the last 5 years? The state, the weather, amazing. The politicians there, I mean, all the big businesses have left. They're left. California is going broke, literally. That's why they're begging for money from the federal government. They're going broke. I've yet to find anybody that can afford to move from there. Say, "Oh, I love it. I'm not moving." Almost everybody that did live there, they don't anymore, and that's literally what they say. And the last time I was in LA, I'll never go back. I'll never go back to LA. It was unbelievable. I mean, I felt like I was walking through Syria or any other third world country. I mean, it is as bad as they say. I saw it with my own eyes. Portland, Oregon may actually be worse. Portland, Oregon is the dirtiest city I've ever been to. I mean, they've destroyed it. But LA, oh my God, it's unbelievable. But no, I mean, no one, literally the only person that's saying California is doing great is their governor. I mean, nobody else is saying that because they know, I mean, they're not. I mean, and again, they're losing their population like crazy. I mean, everybody's moving out of there. As far as from the cities, like somebody just talked about Northern California. Yeah, I've heard a lot of good things about Northern California, like out in the country and stuff. Um, as far as the people and stuff like that, but there's not trash and disgust. No, they have full homeless cities in the middle of LA. And I've heard it's even worse in San Francisco. I've not been to San Francisco in a long time, but I've heard it's even worse there. But it was, I'll tell you this, there is no way in hell I would take my child and walk through LA. No way. I mean, it's gross. No, I mean, I've been to a ton of cities lately, large cities, because we travel pretty often. And no, nothing. Like I said, the only one that compares to LA, and again, I've heard San Francisco's worse. I've just not seen it myself, but is Portland, Oregon. And I'll give you that. Portland, Oregon is the worst. It's the dirtiest city I've ever been to. But like, I love Philadelphia. I would move there if I could. I love Philly. I love Boston. Pittsburgh. I love Denver. Denver is probably where I will end up living at some point. That is truly a place I want to live. I love Denver. So I mean, I love all the. Yeah, yes, all of those cities have certain parts that are gross and you don't want to go to. But L.A., my God. Again, I'm literally stating facts about it. And so I don't understand why. Because you're saying something about states that's just not true. That's just not. Like talking about the cousins, that happens in every state. It's not like it's more prevalent. In fact, I don't know anybody in Alabama that does that. Now there are some, I understand, but there are some in California too. So I don't understand why you're trying to down. I mean, you're downing places that a lot of Californians are moving to. You don't have to send me more information on it. I know Alabama like the back of my hand. I've worked all over this state in every nook and cranny. But again, to act like that's just everywhere in Alabama, that's an ignorant statement. I mean, honestly, do you walk around LA and like, do you feel good? Like, I'm going to bet you that you don't. And then also, people love Alabama. Honestly, our Alabama's population is growing like crazy, especially in North Alabama around Huntsville. I mean, it's growing like crazy. California's population as a whole is dropping like crazy. So there's something there. I mean, there's something to those two things. Why are so many people moving to Alabama and so many people leaving California? Now, I'm not saying every piece of California is like that because, that's not true at all. But now California as a whole, with their laws, their politics, and they're literally going broke. Or they're not going broke, they're broke. They don't have any money. That's big problems. I mean, they can't even keep the power on. Literally, y'all have these big power blackouts. That don't happen in our state. Yeah, California is expensive because they blow all the money on people that don't want to work. Yeah, I mean, you can just look at that one simple, and that's a fact. I mean, Californians are leaving there in droves. Alabama is growing like crazy. And Alabama is a beautiful state. It's not perfect, but no place is perfect. But I mean, I love Alabama. It's a beautiful state. But again, there's tons of other states that I love too, but I love Alabama. It's a good place to live. If someone breaks into my house and is going to try to take my life or my family's, I can defend us. You understand you literally can't do that in California. You'll go to prison. That's a fact. If you live in California and someone breaks into your house and you shoot them and take their life, you will go to prison. I don't see how anyone agrees with that. Like, I don't. So, I mean, I'm not talking about the people of California, like most of the citizens. I'm not talking about the weather because it's amazing. I'm talking about the politicians have ruined that state. And I don't know, it's not like I'm the only one saying that. I mean, everybody's saying that. But they cater to homeless people. That's why now I'll give you that. All the homeless people move there because y'all give them everything. I mean, we have political issues in Alabama just as any state does. But again, I mean, Alabama's not a bad place to live at all. But people that act like if you're from Alabama, you're dumb or something. You're ignorant if you think that. Like, that's an ignorant statement. And that's pretty much what you were trying to say a while ago. That's an ignorant statement. There are dumb people that live in Alabama. There are dumb people that live in every state. There are rednecks that live in every state, even in California. But again, you can't get mad at me for something hundreds of thousands of people are saying. But big businesses are leaving there in droves. I mean, Alabama's becoming the new tech hub. I mean, it won't be long till Alabama's tech hub will be way bigger than California's because they're all leaving California. And it is sad because it's a beautiful state. All right, I gotta run. I gotta go for real this time. Anyway, I appreciate each and every one of you for being on here, and I really mean that. It means a lot to me. I enjoy people being on here that disagree with me and us having conversations about it. I do. I really do. As I've said 1,000 times, I don't want a bunch of people watching me that all agree with me. I don't want all my followers to agree with everything I say. That would be weird, and I would not learn anything. And I like to learn. And one of the best ways to learn is to talking to people that think differently than you. So I enjoy that. I just don't like diverting to name calling because that's not an adult conversation. But anyway, I appreciate all of you. And yeah, vote Big Daddy Mel. Make Montgomery a strip club city. I think I really may vote for him in the primary. But I hope you all have a great rest of your Wednesday night and a good Thursday tomorrow. And I will see y'all back Friday at 9 p.m. Central. So Friday night, 9 p.m. Central. And I know I've been promising what was I about to say? I've gotten tired. I can't remember. Lost my train of thought. Anyway, I will see y'all back Friday night. And I'm putting out a couple really good podcasts tomorrow too, so y'all be looking for those. And if you're not following me, please follow me. Subscribe. If you're only following me on TikTok, please also subscribe on YouTube, because TikTok is known to just ban me and kick me off for a couple of days, literally for nothing. But I'm always live on YouTube, Facebook, and TikTok at the same time. So make sure you're following me you're subscribing to me on YouTube as well. And that's also where you can find my full podcast. The only places you can find my full podcast episodes are YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Rumble. I'm trying to build my YouTube following up. I got a long way to go, but I'm trying to get that up. And so make sure you're following me on there as well. Like I said, I'll probably wake up tomorrow and TikTok's banned me for a couple of days or something. I don't know. Something crazy. But also remember, please remember Aniah Blanchard's family this week, as they're still living in this crazy, horrible nightmare. And think about them. Patreon. There you go. I know I've been promising the Patreon thing, and I promise it's coming. This trial has just kind of messed my whole schedule up. So it's put a bunch of things back, which is fine. But now that I'm probably not going to be going back there. I'll be getting all this stuff out. But make sure you look for. I'll put out when Patreon goes live, and again, there's going to be a lot of good stuff on there, and a lot of videos on my subscription only part on Patreon. A lot of the protection videos, preparedness, and then also the leadership stuff. And I think I keep forgetting to mention that, but like some of the stuff I was talking about tonight, because if you don't know, I'm a big leadership guy. That's what got me started in public speaking. I've been teaching and speaking, going around speaking on leadership for almost 10 years now. So that's really one of my favorite things to talk about. I love teaching about leadership. And so I'm going to have a big part of that. There's going to be a whole section just on leadership stuff on Patreon as well. But I appreciate all your support. And all I ask of you right now is to follow, subscribe, like my post, watch them all the way through, and then share them, please. It helps me a lot. So we can keep going. And I thank all of you, and I definitely thank all my entire team. I hope they know how much I appreciate them. I know how hard they work and all the hours they put into this, and none of this is possible without them. There's no way I could do this stuff on my own at this point. But they do a lot of hard work, even though they're behind the scenes, but they're amazing. Welcome back to Truth or Recon. I'm Agent D. Baker, a retired narcotics detective, SWAT team member, and U.S. Navy combat veteran of OEF and OIF. With years of real-world experience in high-stakes environments, I have seen firsthand the dangers that lurk both in our communities and now increasingly online. These conversations can get raw, they can get heavy, and sometimes they may not be suitable for children, so consider this your disclaimer. But if you care about truth, justice, and accountability, then you're in the right